That's what I loved about this game too, is that where we park, you could back up traffic. That's realistic, because cops are very horrible parkers.
You're under arrest.
Flat two, you saw she did the field sobriety test, she did it in the street. Now you're going to do them on the sidewalk. Any car could come by and slam into you and kill both you and the driver, so you got to keep the driver safe.
Would you please open the car trunk?
That was the other part that I kind of had some problems with this game. This game doesn't take into account the laws that are in place on what we can do and what we could search for.
This is Central.
So the one thing about Police Simulator, I've actually played this game quite a bit. First of all, the devs are actually in Europe, and they are trying to simulate a American law enforcement agency, and their inspiration was Boston, so that's why it has that Bostonian look. The reason why I know that is I've actually spoken to the devs about this game, and I have offered up some information to them which has been utilized, such as how police really talk. They saw that I was very critical about their game. So it looks like since the last time I played, they've updated their police cars. Well, that is a Crown Vic, though, right there. Maybe they didn't upgrade their police cars. So we'll take a look here. And so the gist with Police Simulator, ladies and gentlemen, is that you're playing like the day-to-day of being a police officer. So it's not going to be like that GTA style where you're going to be running and gunning. This is more of just the what do we do on a regular basis. Now, I will tell you this much. It's a good game if you like simulators. I'm not a simulator type of person, hence the reason why I didn't play it all that much. Because the fact that you're writing traffic citations, you're doing traffic collision investigations, that type of stuff, it got to be a little bit boring. I kind of wanted the run and gun type of stuff. But so right here, what he's doing is he's utilizing his tools where he gets to run the license plate. He's going to cite the vehicle for parking on the sidewalk. To be honest with you, the game doesn't capture some of the stuff that you can do, which would be to tow the vehicle. Because in most cities, you can't leave your vehicle parked like this. So the law enforcement would have the legal ability to be able to tow the vehicle. Now that would obviously change from each state to state because state law, the vehicle code would dictate what an officer could do in these situations. That's kind of like the gist of this part where you see that he was going about his day and doing some routine parking enforcement. Okay, so if I was making this game, the way I would make it probably would be having what we really do on a day-to-day basis. The way a day will start is officers will start their shift off by going to a patrol briefing. And in that patrol briefing is where you get your pertinent information on what's going on in the city. You'll learn about any pertinent crime sprees, vehicles that have been stolen, problem areas, and the sergeant will send you out with that information. The primary function of a patrol officer is to respond to calls called service calls. Those are 911 calls, or those are the cold calls like, my neighbor's dog is barking too loud, or there's a loud music call. Those are those secondary calls.
How can I help?
You can stay back there, where the drivers stop. Interrogate them and write them a speeding ticket if needed.
Let's talk tickets. Let's talk just the overall thing about tickets. I know people think that there's this quota thing that every officer has to have. There is no such thing as a quota. As a matter of fact, I, as a supervisor, could get in trouble if I even mention the amount of tickets that somebody should have. You just can't. When I was in patrol, I was kind of one of those people that like to get one parking ticket and one, what we call a moving violation, which is someone has a moving violation. At least one a week. Just to, hey, I'm out there doing my thing. I hated giving tickets. I'm going to tell you that right now because I knew I was ruining someone's day. So what I'd like to do was when I contacted the person, I would, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a young driver, and I know some of the people watching these videos are very young adults, if you're a young driver, you need to get a ticket. And the reason why is you got to learn your lesson. You got to learn the pain of getting a ticket. And that is going to traffic court, paying the fine, and then going in front of a judge, trying to say you didn't do what we all know you did, and then then getting assigned to go to traffic school, which is 8 hours just to get this off your record so your insurance doesn't go up, so your parents don't beat you. All of us have to go through that. I got 3 moving violations as a young driver, and I didn't learn my lesson after the first one. I definitely didn't learn my lesson after the second one. I finally learned my lesson after the third one. But when you're an adult, If I walked up to a car and the adult said, officer, I'm sorry, you know what, I didn't mean to speed, I'm just kind of in a hurry, I got all these things going on, I 9 times out of 10 would say, okay, please do me a favor, slow down. And I would actually give them a little bit of grief by taking their driver's license, registration, insurance, and walking back to my car. I would run them just to make sure there was no warrants, and then come back. And if they were clean, I would go ahead and let them go with the warning. Yes, I do wish there was more cops like me, but you got those guys who just love giving tickets, and I just don't know why. I just don't know why.
Would you please open the car trunk?
Of course, officer.
That was the other part that I kind of had some problems with this game. This game doesn't take into account the laws that are in place on what we can do and what we could search for. A prime example is when you have a traffic collision in this game, the game wants you to do a sobriety field test for alcohol and drugs on the driver.
Have you consumed any alcoholic beverages?
See, right there. There it is. See, you got to have some reasoning on, are the bloodshot, watery eyes? Is there slurred speech? Do you smell alcohol or marijuana in the car? We're not just going to randomly check everybody. Once again, I know there's some keyboard warriors going, you cops do whatever you want. Okay, I'm just talking about what I know. The driver has to exhibit certain signs and symptoms for us to move forward. But it's not just because you got involved in the traffic collision. That's one of the things that the game does have you do, is that for you to get the full points, you got to do this whole entire thing. And I've actually told the devs that they got to take this component out of there.
It's over the permitted limit. I'm sorry, but I can't allow you to keep driving. Please put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest.
Flat 2, you saw she did the field sobriety test, she did it in the street. No, you're going to do them on the sidewalk. Any car could come by and slam into you and kill both you and the driver, so you got to keep the driver safe.
I need to ask you a few questions.
Am I in any kind of trouble, officer?
The dialogue is great. I mean, the devs have watched way too many Hollywood movies. Today with body cams, it captures everything we say and everything we do. I'm sure there's officers out there that still make those mistakes and talk like that, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you're saying stuff like that, you could potentially get yourself into trouble just based upon that body cam footage that's available these days.
Gonna have to check your pockets.
Am I being accused of something?
The only way you can do this legally is by asking her permission. Can I search her? Minus you thinking she has a gun, a male officer is really not going to search a female suspect. We're going to call for a female officer to come and do our search for us. Minus we thinking that there might be a gun or some type of weapon that could hurt us immediately. But I can tell you, in my 26 years of being a police officer, I have never, ever pat down a female. So it tells you exactly that this doesn't really happen.
Don't move!
Oh, yeah, I love that. Foot pursuit. He just ran after him. So if this was a real foot pursuit, you'd be on your radio putting out your direction, the street you're running on, description of the suspect.
I need to see some identification.
I don't know what technology other cities have, but we would actually get on our radio and say, hey, we want to do a warrant or wants check, and we would give the information out to communications, and communications would run them for us, especially if we were on foot. Now, in our police cars, we have MDCs, and we can go ahead and do that ourselves, but I don't know of any tech that allows us to do it outside the car. Hello. That's what I loved about this game, too, is that where we park, you could back up traffic. That's realistic, because cops are very horrible parkers. They generally forget that they got to get their dang car out of the way so the public can go around us. So, yes, that's a really good one. And we're going to do it again here. So he parks his car in the middle of the street to walk the suspect to another person's car on a block away. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is all you do in this game.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so the only beef I have with this part is get the person out of the street. Get them onto the sidewalk where they can be safe. I mean, if you want to talk about real police stuff, that's the stuff that I got to think about when I respond to these calls. I got to think about, where I'm going to park my car. As I get out of my car, am I in an area where it's safe? And what I mean by that is, there's fluids on the road. Is there any leaking gasoline? That type of stuff. So that way, it's that scene safety that we talk about. At that point in time, I'm going to get people out of the street. A lot of people like to hang out around their cars. We've seen too many videos where cars come slamming in. So we're going to get all the occupants onto the sidewalk. And at that point in time, then we'll start conducting our investigation. Like this guy, he was rear-ended. There is no reason to give him a field sobriety test unless, he smelled the alcohol or drugs. So no, that's the part that I hate about this game right here. It's just like so frustrating, because the last thing I want is for people to play this game and think that that's what we realistically do in law enforcement. It's not. So if you love this content, I'm going to tell you, you need to go follow Gamology on both YouTube and Facebook. And if you like to follow me, then look for Chris the Cop on YouTube as well. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris the Cop reminding all of you, peace.